Good afternoon. I'm Thomas Haire, Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association serving companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. Welcome to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These 20-ish minute live conversations feature the top leaders in performance marketing speaking about the hottest topics in the industry and are scheduled twice a month. Before we get to today's question, a housekeeping note about questions. We will be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of the session. You don't have to wait to ask them, however. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. Not only am I here to welcome you to today's conversation, but I'm also pinch hitting for Take 20 host Chris Foster, who's unavailable today due to travel, big shoes to fill. But I think I'm ready for the challenge. In today's conversation, we all know that marketing and consumer behavior landscape is constantly changing and the regulatory environment is trying to keep pace. From data privacy to subscription protocol, usually it's consumers driving the movement with the marketing industry following, and then the regulatory teams. The same cycle is happening now with cryptocurrency. Bitcoin and others are no longer a phenomenon. They've evolved into legitimate currency with real value, investors, and an ecosystem. Obviously, crypto is entering a new stage in its development with the amount of marketing messaging around it becoming more prevalent. Performance marketing campaigns for different currencies and exchanges are popping up more regularly, and questions about the regulatory environment surrounding both crypto and this marketing messaging are growing just as fast. So, how does crypto's circle fit into the Venn diagram of performance marketing? Fortunately, we have attorneys Sarah LaVoi and Rob Musiala from PDMI member firm BakerHostetler joining me today to share their insights on the landscape for crypto marketing right now and what they see as possible challenges and opportunities in the near-term future. Thank you both for joining me. Appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, Sarah, of course. Both you and Rob, we were very excited to get you on board, and thank you, Sarah, for bringing the idea to the table. We appreciate it quite a bit. Let's start with you, Rob. You've been at it here in the crypto space and looking at the crypto space for some time. Can you give us a little bit, start off by giving us a little bit of crypto 101 for everyone, and then maybe talk about how it became your specialty at BakerHostetler from there.
Sure. So cryptocurrencies have been around for a long time. Bitcoin's been around since around middle of 2008. And in my experience, it has been slowly and steadily seeping into the mainstream. I don't think that cryptocurrencies will ever replace traditional financial products, but what I've seen and what I still believe is that over time, cryptocurrencies are more and more going to become intertwined with the traditional financial system. And frankly, if the technology is working well in a lot of respects, blockchain and cryptocurrencies will hopefully make the financial system more efficient, faster, cheaper, better to use for everyone, and largely operate behind the scenes without people having to necessarily know that crypto and blockchain are powering new payment applications. Cryptocurrencies are different than blockchain technology. Blockchain is the technology that underpins cryptocurrencies. And without getting in too much into the blockchain 101, what I will say and how I always start off is to say that blockchain is a new type of database. That's all it really is. And it's a new type of database that can do certain things that prior database systems were not able to do. And in particular, blockchain gives the data on that database an enhanced degree of veracity, reliability, and an enhanced degree of network security above and beyond what we're used to with traditional database systems. And last thing I'll note about blockchain is that if you think about sort of the web, what we currently call Web 2, which is where databases are typically stored on a centralized server, that has now evolved into where in a lot of cases now, we're relying on data that resides on the cloud, which is, it's more than one computer node that is supporting a network. It's multiple nodes in multiple locations, and that provides enhanced security. But with a cloud, all of those different network nodes are typically owned by the same company. So AWS, Microsoft Azure, whatever it might be. Now imagine a scenario where each of those network nodes is actually independently operated by an independent third party. that's essentially what blockchain is from a network standpoint. And that gives blockchain an enhanced degree of network security and reliability. Cryptocurrencies are just data that are transferred on a blockchain, but they're a little bit different than the data that we're used to in sort of what we would call Web 2. In Web 2, we're used to dealing with copies of data. Anything that you receive or send can be copied millions of times, right? Well, in the Web3 world, data that is stored on a blockchain, it's a world where any single piece of data can only exist in one place and with one person at any given point in time. So we're transferring originals, not a copy. And that has a lot of interesting use cases. It's especially interesting for use cases related to finance, because finance is an area where, for example, we're interested in dealing with the original, not a copy, not a counterfeit. So that's a little bit of blockchain 101 without taking up too much time. It's a topic we could talk a lot about.
Right, right. And it's valuable for performance marketing too, in terms of squeezing out ad fraud from the system. So I know our viewers care very much about that.
That's very true, Sarah. I mean, we have a member company named Blockboard, which is their goal is to basically put as much of the trading media sales and buying as they can onto blockchain to try to remove fraud from advertising media sales, which is another interesting use case, and the Blockboard has been very active with us and trying to get that messaging out. So you know, with crypto, you know, I'm going to step ahead here. Obviously, where we're at with crypto, it's changed immensely in the last 3 months from a government regulation and government viewpoint. From what President Biden, there was much more of a deep regulatory environment expected, and now you literally have the President of the United States promoting his own meme coins. So you know, it's an interesting change. How do you see, and this is for either one of you to start, how do you see that affecting regulations and how folks are interacting with crypto?
Sure. I mean, I'll start super generally, and then we can jump in. And Rob and I talk about this all the time. It is really interesting. Obviously, the regulatory environment truly changed overnight. You know, it's a new Securities and Exchange Commission under this administration, and their approach to crypto and crypto adjacent products has really opened up. So it's just a true change. That said, advertisers and platforms who accept advertising, they want to be mindful and think long term, while also seizing those immediate opportunities. They want to know, what can we do now that we couldn't do yesterday, and then is it smart? Do you think we can be doing this in 5 years? But I'll let Rob talk about the absolute sea change at the regulatory level, at least at the federal level.
Thanks, Sarah. Yes, just to underpin a little bit more of what Sarah was saying, you know, in the Biden administration, we had a very complex regulatory environment, and we still do to some degree. But it really has been a 180 since the Trump administration took office. And to give an example, you know, over the last really decade or more, since cryptocurrencies came onto the scene, they've been regulated generally in 4 different ways by 4 different regulators here in the U.S. FinCEN, which is an arm of the Treasury Department, calls cryptocurrencies money. The SEC calls them securities. The IRS calls them property, and the CFTC calls them commodities. And so that's just an example of how complex the regulatory environment has been. Not to mention some of the court cases that have come down in the past couple of years. When the Trump administration took office, one of the first things they did was to pass an executive order related to digital assets that essentially wiped the slate clean and said, you know, look, we are starting afresh here, and we want to promote a pro crypto environment here in the U.S. And to that end, David Sachs, who's appointed as the new crypto czar, has been tasked with delivering a report within 100 days of that executive order. It'll be due sometime in June, with recommendations for how to change the regulatory environment to create a more crypto-friendly market. At the same time, as Sarah mentioned, we have a new SEC commissioner and a new SEC that has very clearly been more pro crypto and has been issuing a number of statements just in the past couple months that have provided some clarity to the crypto market about a couple different specific things. And we can get more into some of these details, but specifically the SEC has put out statements explaining how certain meme coins are not securities, explaining how certain stable coins are not securities, and specifically explaining how proof of work mining, aka Bitcoin mining, does not involve the offer and sale of securities. And that's all intended to give the market more guidance and confidence that the SEC is not going to bring enforcement actions in those particular areas. And that's important because during the Biden administration, the SEC was very aggressive in bringing enforcement actions against the cryptocurrency industry. And in fact, it essentially took the position that only Bitcoin and Ether are the only two digital assets that are not securities, and anything else is on the table for being considered a security by the SEC. So that environment has really changed. It continues to evolve, and I think we will continue to get more guidance. The SEC is undergoing a series of roundtables right now where they're soliciting input from the industry, and that input, I think, will eventually make its way into more formal guidance, and that formal guidance may, by the way, make its way into potentially new law being considered by Congress. We also have draft legislation being considered by Congress right now related to stablecoins, and I think that's the legislation that I think we'll see a focus on first. And so all this to say that we are entering a very much more pro-crypto environment, very much more light touch regulatory environment. And I can say, having worked with our advertising teams here at BakerHostetler for the past several years now, even in the prior administration, we on a number of occasions guided clients as to how to sort through some of this and get comfortable running ads for cryptocurrency businesses and helping them to come up with sort of a risk profile. And now with the change in administration and a new regulatory environment that's a little bit more friendly, those opportunities, I think, have greatly enhanced and increased. But there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of sorting through the risk profiles and getting comfortable with an approach for sort of how to evaluate opportunities for marketing in the crypto industry.
That's interesting. I'm going to jump back to the earlier part of your question, or the part of your answer here, and go ahead to a question we'd planned for later. But can you explain the difference, generally speaking, between meme coins and stable coins, and like say Bitcoin is the one that everyone knows, right? Like what? Can you just give us like a quick breakdown of what those different things are?
He usually has a whiteboard in his office for this to explain it to people like me.
Yeah, I'm happy to give like a quick 101 on some of the different digital asset products that folks will likely encounter. So you've got on the most basic level, what are called native cryptocurrencies. Examples would be Bitcoin and Ether, BTC and ETH. And these are the native cryptocurrencies that largely act as payment mechanisms on a blockchain network. And so the two most important networks to really understand are the Bitcoin network, which is largely a payments and store of value type network, and the Ethereum network. There are several differences between the two. One key difference is on the Bitcoin network, the only digital asset that resides on that network is Bitcoin. That may change in the future, but right as of today, that is still the case. On the Ethereum network, one of the innovations of Ethereum is that the Ethereum network allows anyone with relative technical ease to create and distribute their own cryptocurrency product on Ethereum. So on the Ethereum network, you've got Ether, which is sort of the native cryptocurrency, the payment mechanism. But then you've also got literally thousands of other digital assets. These are generally called, and these fit into a couple different categories. I'll go over a few. The first are called ERC20 tokens. These are fungible tokens where typically a creator would create 1 billion and each one is no different than the next, right? Then you've got what are called ERC 721 tokens. These are what are called non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. An NFT is unique because each one has essentially a unique identifier encoded into the digital asset. And so you can distinguish each one from the next. And that has certain use cases related to things like authenticating media and authenticating other things. You've got a meme coin, which is a little bit of a mix of the two, because with an NFT is usually attached to media. An ERC20 token, again, is just a fungible token where you've got many of them, can't tell the difference between one and the next. Well, a meme coin is like an ERC20 token that has a meme attached to it or an image attached to it. So it's fungible in the sense that there are many of them and you can't distinguish one from the next. But the key difference or distinguishing factor is each one has the same meme or image attached to the digital asset. And so it's these types of meme coins, and really it's important to recognize that it's really the most simple kind, where the token is nothing more than a token with an image attached to it. The SEC's recent guidance has essentially said that in general, these types of products are not going to be considered securities, and for that reason, we may see these products being used more and more because the risk profile has lessened significantly. Now, I do want to caution.
Just to jump in on that, and I could see them being used in a marketing concept as well, like a premium, a giveaway, to bring in that digital audience. Because before there was, they just came with a red flag. Is it worth it? It's so regulated. We're going to really have to navigate the risks. And now, I feel like it's a yellow flag. You still have to be mindful, but it's absolutely doable.
Right. In the Biden administration, we would have advised, don't get anywhere near advertising for meme coins. In the new administration, as Sarah said, we would say it's a yellow flag. So we can get comfortable with mitigating the risks. There are risks. For example, the SEC statement does say to beware of so-called disguised securities. So it's a digital asset that is a security, but just slaps a meme onto it, and has all sorts of additional features in addition to that meme, could be considered security. And so having policies, procedures, and a framework for evaluating and risk rating meme coins is important. But they are now on the table in terms of potentially acceptable products to run ads for.
Makes sense. So let's go into advertising. It seems like there's more advertising going on around crypto than there ever has been. Not that there hasn't been, but it seems that we're trending in that direction. And given the current regulatory environment, it could likely blow up here in the next 6 months or so. And into a bit of and as people who've been part of the performance marketing direct to consumer world, no, we've been through a number of Wild West situations where a new product or a new service comes to the fore and everyone wants to get involved with it. So maybe Sarah, I'll let you take a lead on this. Like, what are you seeing on the environment? What questions are you getting from clients about advertising here? And then maybe Rob, you can backfill with the risks, opportunities, and so forth.
Sure. Sure. So we're really seeing a lot of crypto and crypto adjacent questions along an entire spectrum, from, hey, can you guys at the firm help us understand, like from a retailer perspective, can we accept crypto as payment and try to avoid some of those credit card fees? And I'm sure that that's something that comes up with this group as well, right? And that's not really advertising related, but hey, it's about commerce and bringing the money in. Right. So it's the heart of what we do. We also see we're going to see crypto companies and crypto adjacent companies investing more in their marketing programs because they can now. So they're going to hire marketers. They're going to hire performance marketing professionals to help them boost their advertising and find the right audience. It's like they've just entered the chat and you can feel it, right? And then at the other end of the spectrum, when you've got the platforms that accept the advertising, they are now, going to be more open to it. They'll have their guidelines just like they always have around things that are regulated, like alcohol, tobacco, anything in that area. Crypto was on that list, again, it may have been a red flag, and now it's very likely going to be a yellow flag because they'll accept that revenue.
Mhm.
And then also you've got the players in the performance marketing and the digital media space who, back to Rob's, one of his early points, can help with the blockchain element and really tracking those ads to get comfort around anti-fraud measures and whatnot. So to me, crypto is really exciting across the entire marketing spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you heard of marketers paying for ads with crypto yet? Either one of you?
So
Ad
no.
placement.
So I haven't, but I just wouldn't be surprised if it comes up, especially on a B2B basis. I think that's probably a natural place to start.
Yep.
And I mentioned earlier, one of the pending legislation that's being considered by Congress right now relates to creating a regulatory framework for stablecoins. A stablecoin is a digital asset, usually an ERC20 token that I mentioned earlier, where each token is backed 1-to-1 by a real dollar or dollar equivalent in a real bank account and typically audited by a U.S. public accounting firm. These are by and large, very safe products to deal with compared to the rest of the crypto landscape. And especially if we do get legislation passed into law, then stablecoins will very much become mainstream. And so that could be one of the first areas where we see crypto payments being used more in the mainstream. And so something for marketers to sort of keep their eyes on.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, hence the name stablecoin, right? It makes everyone feel good. We've got a couple more questions here. I want to check back on something. So obviously we have a kind of a free and easy regulatory environment at the federal level here. I'm going to tweak this question as we previously discussed. And is there any state level regulation that we should keep apprised of? Like with privacy, the CCPA kind of set the tone for privacy legislation that still is not done at the federal level for privacy. Are there any states we should be keeping an eye on where the regulatory regime is on a path?
Yes.
And I would say that the states have always been considering this market alongside federal regulators. I think in the next few years, we may see some states sort of accelerate those discussions a little bit. We will also see states like New York State, which has traditionally been very regulatory heavy on the crypto environment, having the New York Bit license, and also the New York Attorney General has been very aggressive in enforcement actions against the crypto space. And so we'll have states like New York that will continue to be very aggressive no matter what the federal government is doing. We'll also have some states that accelerate discussions around legislation similar to New York, so considering taking an approach similar to New York. And then we'll probably have certain attorney generals from certain states that choose to become a little bit more aggressive, and we're already seeing that in some states as well.
That makes sense. And sure to follow that once the marketing really kicks in will be the class action.
Yeah. It's always something to keep an eye out, and it's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough action out there yet for it, but once there is, it seems inevitable. But let me slide one more question in here before I get to the last one. And this, I think, probably more direct toward you, Sarah. It feels like in this conversation that affiliate marketing would be like the natural landing space for a lot of cryptocurrency advertising. You feel like the crypto companies and the marketers, like going and working through affiliates would be a natural vibe here. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think it makes sense. And I have seen discussions of that come up, and I really caution, a careful look at that, because as soon as you have affiliate marketers feeling kind of free to go out there And we know that you can unleash a ton of power that way and get a lot of great conversions. You have to be mindful that they're not giving investment advice, that they're not, that there's not an argument that there's violation of some of those just bread and butter laws, just because crypto, again, is the product that's being advertised. There are still those threshold requirements in terms of clarity and disclosures that need to be followed. So you are right. I really can see that being a powerful tool, but also one that will still be highly regulated, and even more so because it's crypto.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to consumer and brand safety at that point. All right, last question from me, and then I've got one or two from the audience. Each of you want to give them a takeaway. We'll give the audience a takeaway. Your biggest upside to the crypto world right now, and the biggest risk in the crypto world right now. Rob, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So, I mean, I think the biggest upside really goes back to one of my earlier comments, which is that this technology is becoming more and more intertwined with traditional technologies, traditional products and services. And I think that is going to create, it has been creating and will continue to create opportunities across all different industries. And so, for advertising and marketing, that's going to create opportunities for clients that will bring new ad revenue. And it also may create opportunities for the advertising platform itself and the media platform itself. And so, I think these opportunities, as we've been discussing today, are becoming more accessible to the mainstream and will become opportunities that you encounter probably more and more often over the coming years. The biggest threats are fraud and hacks, plain and simple. There's still major hacks that take place in this market almost on a daily basis. I run a weekly blog, and we're reporting on hacks almost weekly. And so that's, in my view, the biggest threat to the industry writ large. And then, another threat is potential fraud. And there's been, many instances of things like fraud, market manipulation, and similar incidents that give a little bit of a bad rap to the industry. And these are the types of things that good actors need to be aware of and need to be able to understand how to triage opportunities so that they sort through those things and avoid dealing with some of those bad actors.
Right, absolutely. And so my plus is I'm excited that it's just unlocking revenue streams within the marketing space. Love to see it. It's exciting, and it's a benefit to all of us in that regard. In terms of downside, similar to Rob's, I do get worried about influencers, about brands who get excited about this and jump into it, maybe do a meme coin. It feels harmless, but then take it a step further and are pulled inadvertently into something that becomes, potentially, arguably fraudulent, right? So again, it's like, step into this with a toe, right? Like, don't necessarily jump into the lake.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Couple of questions here below. We see the idea here, what we talked about is advertisers possibly marketing crypto products, ready to implement crypto as payment for their products, right? All of these things are great possibilities. What do you guys think the stomach is for consumers when looking at it and saying, yeah, I'd love to pay crypto for this tchotchke, or yeah, I'd love to buy crypto from this website that I just saw on TV? What's the stomach for consumers? And is it just traditional marketing? The consumer is going to be told that their stomach for it is amazing because they want it, right? What is your estimation of what the consumer stomach is for this right now?
Yeah. Well, I feel like for our industry, and maybe I'm the wrong person to ask because I still have $100 locked in a wallet from 2019 that I can't get to. No, but I do think, just like everything we do with performance marketing, there's going to be a certain audience that is hyper interested, and it's going to work really well for. And I do think there's room to educate and grow that. But Rob, what do you think? I know you've seen so much evolution.
Well, I think from a payment perspective, it will only be a small subset of the population where it makes sense for them to use crypto as payment. But importantly, in order to capture that subset, you've got to be able to accommodate that type of payment. And I think that subset will probably grow, but I don't think it's going to grow so dramatically that it'll be absolutely necessary, for everybody to accept crypto as payment. I think just like other financial products where for any given consumer, sometimes it makes sense to pay through a credit card, a debit card, an ACH, cash, whatever it might be. Now crypto is just going to be added to that list of options. And again, in some instances, there'll be a subset of consumers that want to pay in crypto. I think the larger opportunity, though, is in all the different products that are sort of related to the crypto industry that are going to continue to enter the marketplace. And these can be anything from things like meetings and events focused on blockchain, hardware, for example, cold storage wallet hardware, or even mining hardware, business models related to mining Bitcoin, which essentially underpins the network, and that industry is taking off in the United States right now. Regulated financial products like Bitcoin ETFs that are going to be, promoted by, sort of just your traditional financial firms that are public companies on Wall Street, and so on and so forth. And then, moving into the more crypto native products like a cryptocurrency exchange that's in the business of helping people to purchase and sell cryptocurrencies, and then on down the line into the more exotic things, like decentralized finance, meme coins, NFTs, all that type of stuff. And so I think the important thing to recognize is that there's a lot of different spectrums on this market where different market actors can play in. And it's important to sort of assess and understand where you want to play in and what your risk appetite is.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, we'll have to leave a question or two on the table for next time, as we're just about out of time. We appreciate both of you being here, Sarah, Rob, and great insights. Rob, send us your blog link, and when we post this on YouTube in our YouTube channel, we will include that link for people to visit, so they can keep up with what's going on. Our next Take 20 episode is set for Wednesday, April 30th, when our recurring series on marketing to different generations tackles millennials. Please visit thepdmi.com/take-20 to register for the webinar and check out the upcoming schedule. And online registration is open now for PDMI West, the association's big fall event in San Diego. Badges are just $395 for PDMI members and $595 for non-members. That's a $100 discount from on-site registration rates. And badge holders get first crack at discounted rooms at PDMI's block at the Host Hotel, Intercontinental San Diego. That's the block, not the blockchain. So visit thepdmi.com/PDMI-West to find out more and get your badge now. Thanks again, Sarah. Thanks again, Rob. And thanks again to you for being here, for checking out this episode of the PDMI's Take 20. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.